everybody. On today's episode of Madge Unmuted, we talked about when I stopped caring. I know, can you tell by my outfit? No, I'm just kidding. When I stopped kind of giving a fuck in life. Was there one moment? Was there one specific moment? Were there a lot of little moments? Were there several big moments? I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to tell you all about it, and I don't care if you don't like it. On today's episode of Madge Unmuted. Come on in, about it. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Madge Unmuted. I am your hostess, Madge Madigan, and here I am solo again. You know, it's so hard sometimes getting everybody corralled all into one place. I had a thought this week on when did I stop caring? I don't know why this thought came. I was in New York City this past week with my kids and with John, and I had a couple different things. I had some work business, and I had a gala to go to. Yes, I know I'm fancy. This little picture of me in my gala outfit. The thing that I thought about is when in my life did I stop caring? The answer is not one particular moment. There has been several moments. There's been gradual moments of caring less. There's been moments of caring more. Let me back that up. When I was a kid, I did not care. I was my goofy, crazy self. I did not care. As I got older, of course, and you know, the opposite sex, or well, the same sex, if whatever, you know, the romantic feelings start to come into play, and you get incredibly anxious about what other people think of you, especially whoever you're interested in. So there's that thing, but I find at a lot of times I've been at odds with the two of not caring and caring way too much. There was a point when I got to college, I did not care at all. That was one of my great times because I was a punk kid. It was the early 80s. Punk, new wave, whatever, all that stuff. I was dressed and had my hair spiked, I had my head half shaved. I didn't care. But then as I started to, I was getting out of college, and my parents were very worried about me making something of myself and me not fucking it up, basically. And so I started to really worry about, like, oh, I've got to become what my parents want. So I completely grew normal hair and tried to get a job, and very conservative clothes and Miss Preppy and whatever. And that pretty much started right after college, like 1987, started my caring way too much about what people thought. I still had a little bit of, I don't care about the jokes and stuff I make to a certain extent. However, then I got married. Then my ex-husband was very judgmental and very, don't act this way, don't act that way, the way you act is stupid. And that all stemmed from control. We all know that. But it was still also this thing with my parents of how I was supposed to behave. I'm an adult now. I'm supposed to behave a certain way. And I started having kids, yada, yada. And I was very, very concerned. Then I got divorced. I started to not care a little less because just in the way that I'm not going to let anybody control me anymore. The one thing I did notice in those time periods, that I was very much at odds about what I want, how I wanted to act, and what I wanted to achieve, or what I thought I wanted to achieve. There's times in your life, I try to explain to my kids that, like, I want you to be an individual. I want you to do what you want. However, if you're trying to become CEO of a company, you kind of have to look the part. That's a thing that sucks in life. It's great if you're the CEO of a company that is tattoo equipment. Then you can look however you want. You're the CEO of a far out there record label, heavily independent. You can look how you want to look. If you're trying to become CEO of Apple and you look like, um, you're tattooed head to toe, it's normally not working out. And that thing sucks. And here I was at odds in this part of my life of how I wanted to be. I wanted to have, I wanted to be the wealthy suburban housewife. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to get a rich guy and live in a fancy house and, belong to the country club and all that? Yes, I know some of you don't, whatever, but who doesn't want to live a comfortable lifestyle? Most often, pretty much every. But I also wanted to have half my head shaved, and it just wasn't gonna do. I think that's the part of being a Gemini. I wanted two completely different lifestyles my whole life. So, where do I get to the point where I stopped caring? Okay, it took a long time. It took a really long time. I think I finally hit a point where I was really going to flip the switch on going back to quote unquote how I was as a kid. I always had this, like, I wanted to live in New York City, in lower Manhattan, down in the village. I wanted to be a DJ, old fashioned DJ, like on the radio DJ. I wanted to work with bands. I wanted to go see bands all the time. I wanted to, you know, live in the whole scene. And it was right before the pandemic. I remember it was like around December of 2019. I don't know what exactly made me flip. Um, but I was trying to go to grad school and I was trying to get a degree in adult education. And I realized I didn't like it. I was going to get a part-time job. I was doing some other stuff. I kind of don't remember, but I remember there's a record store in Rochester that was always kind of funky and offbeat and cool. And I saw an ad, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to work in a record store. Like, I always pictured my life was, in that movie High Fidelity too. So I go and I get this job, and I felt normal again. I went and I bought some funky clothes to wear to work, and I was like in heaven. Pandemic hits in March. Store closes down, but it was kind of fortuitous because I used that point where, like, I'm going to delve back into me. And this is a really weird thing, but in that time when I was home, I came across a documentary about the Beastie Boys. And it was the two remaining Beastie Boys, Ad Rock and Mike D. I don't know how to explain it. They were on a stage. I think it was maybe the Beacon Theater in New York, and they were basically narrating the story of the Beastie Boys and showing clips and whatnot. And everything that they were going through, they're the same age as me, and they were living the life in New York City downtown in the early 80s that I had always wanted to, being at the danceteria every night. This is all like, fantasy stuff, but it fueled this thing in me. And I don't know, it just kind of went from there, and it started to grow, and I started to get, more and more. However, it didn't totally go away. I would love to be one of those people that's like, I just don't give a shit. You know, Everybody gives a shit to a certain extent, unless you're a complete sociopath. Sociopath, right? That has no sociopath or psychopath. I think sociopath that absolutely cannot feel empathy or any other human feelings. So you literally don't care. I started during the pandemic. I started cultivating my interests, and that's when I had the idea. I think I had it right before that too, to have a podcast, because that's what I'd gone to college for, was broadcasting. And I wanted to be, like I said, a radio DJ and live in the whole music scene. But now everything's completely different. There's no kind of, there's no DJs anymore like there were in the late 70s, where you're on an FM station and you play an album side and then you talk about it for 20 minutes. That's just not happening anymore. So I was like, I'm gonna have a podcast. I attempted to have a podcast before that for a little bit, and it was just audio only, and it wasn't really working. Anyway, so I find Fitz on social media. We kind of knew each other, had some mutuals. Anyway, we come up with this podcast. That's when I started to really come out of my shell and really go through this. I don't care. I'm going to have a podcast. Again, another one of my phases of I don't care, shall I say. However, I realized in doing that, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. Every day I cared about who's watching and how many people are watching and how many going to get more people to watch. And, because I wanted to make it my job, my vocation. I wanted to make money, you know. And I had professionals and therapists and other people talk about not caring. I totally have this wraparound shirt that wants to have my side bulge fat come poking through, and I'm worried about it because I keep tugging at it. You see how that works? You never stop caring. And so I'm doing this podcast, but I was worried every day about who's watching because I got to make a living off this. I need money, damn it. I want to make money, I want to make money because I wasn't finding a job any other way. All the stuff I was doing, marketing had dried up. The the um the pandemic really threw a fucking wrench in the works. I'm sure you all know, but it really turned, you know, this country and the world upside down. And the job market. I was getting better, but I had these people telling me, don't worry about it, just do it, makes you happy. I just had this nagging thing that I got to make money. I got to make money. How am I going to do? What should I do? I should do this. My show changed week to week. Hey, look at it now. It's changing week to week. I still can't find what the fuck I want to do, how I want to do it. People were telling me just have fun. That's really hard to do when you're trying to make money. Um, it's really hard being, and I don't mean to make that this my thing is harder than anybody else. It's really hard being a creative because when you do what you want, how many times do you hear an artist say like, I really hated that album, but the record company was pushing us to put out a hit, or we a certain band, we split up for creative differences because these one people wanted to go this way, this one person wanted to be more creative, going this way. The Police is a key example of that. Sting wanted to start getting all jazzy and all his stuff. So me, I did a lot of therapy. I have my friend Amy to thank a lot. It took me like 10 years, but I don't know. Sometimes you can't help when something takes hold because it's just like the timing of the universe and other shit has to happen in your life. So all of a sudden there was in like what was it, in the end of 2023, I guess. I was like, I don't want to be here in Rochester anymore. My last of my three kids had graduated college. They all moved to the other side of the state, New York State. I was like, that's it. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to be what I want to do. I'm going to be 60 soon. Let me just do what I want to do. I I've been in a relationship for 10 years during this, so I struggled a little bit with, what am I going to do? How's this going to work? Whatever. But I immediately was like, I can't do that to myself again. There's three times in my life, three relationships where I completely gave up my life and followed the guy, not, but followed his plan because he was going to be the one making money. So, you know, my relationship out of college, we were in school in Maine and he moved down to North Carolina to get his PhD. So I'm like, okay, let me do that. What else am I going to do? I didn't want to go to North Carolina. I didn't want to I didn't want to do any of that, but I did it. Then I finally said, screw it. I'm going to go back up north. I went up north. Eventually I meet a guy. I get married to him. We have three kids. My every second of my life was to cater to him. Not to mention that he was incredibly controlling, but also you know, but also when I'm in a relationship, I'm like that person's biggest fan until they make me not want to be anymore. So once you start treating me like shit, I don't want to be your biggest fan anymore. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he was a hockey coach on the side. He had this great job. He traveled all over, so much so he was about to go. He coached junior hockey. He was about to go to the national championship. I was a couple weeks away of having our first child. I was like a week away. I don't know. It kept creeping up. He was going to have to leave soon. I was a week late. I agreed to get induced so that he could go to off to St. Louis to coach the kids in nationals. We lived in New York State. Just shows you. Either I'm incredibly supportive or incredibly stupid. I don't know. Anyway, and then then I got divorced, lived in Denver, then I moved back, whatever. Then I was in another relationship, and it was all about him. And he was always doing what about me? What about me? And I'm like, I'm already doing every fucking thing in my life for you. It was just, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to go there. But after a while, I was like, I'm out of here. Anyway, where was I about when I decided? Oh, so I decided I've had enough of Rochester, going back to when I was going to move. And I'm like, I'm just going to move where I want, do what I want. And that's what I did. I sold my house. I made a lot of money from it. And we had already had the house down here as an investment. I'm like, I'm just going to move here. Here being where I grew up. Now, I always thought I felt so me. In figuring out who I was thinking I was so me when I was growing up, right? Some people can find a period in your life where you were really you. Sometimes you're really you when you're growing up and you're a pure child. Great. That was me. Some people aren't that way because you had a really oppressive parent or something. I don't know. You go back to it. So I thought I was really myself here. And I was, and I did, and I am. And that is one of the big times I really thought I am just gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And for the most part, everybody was very, very accepting of it because they knew that's just her. When I was little, they called me Peg. My real name is Margaret. They called me Peg. That's just Peg. That's Peg when we were growing up. Or people that have known me since, college. That's just Madge. So I moved down here and I started wearing whatever the hell I want. And people didn't mind. Everything was fine. But I started to not enjoy the day-to-day life here. It's a kind of it's a small city, just like 20,000 people. Not many job opportunities for me or for anybody really. But and when I got to a certain point of like discussing business, discussing marketing, discussing big ideas, people just didn't get it. So I'm like, okay, this part of my life fits here that I just don't care and I'm really what I want. I'm how I want to act, how I want to dress, how I want to whatever. But the stuff that I really want to do, I can't just not care about what people think here because that's how I'm going to make it work. Do you know what I mean? Like I need it. Sometimes you need other people in business to. Most of the time, you do. You need customers, you need bosses, you need whatever to make your whole thing work. So within the last year, I just stopped. Not just stopped. I can't say that again because I had this weird thing go happen with a friend group. I was really into helping out with the club here. I was an officer in the organization and I was really trying to make things work and it was going really great and then all of a sudden I don't know. I guess there was a revolt of some kind. I still don't really know what happened, but all of a sudden I was being pushed out. And it freaked me the fuck out for a while because I was like, what did I do? I spent one day on the phone crying with two friends of mine. And I thank you for that. But these two really good girlfriends of mine, I just spent the whole day crying because like, what did I do? Why don't they like me? Why were they trying to push me out? what went wrong, blah 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 blah. I spiraled for a day because it was a very kind of humiliating and embarrassing and abrupt and mean way that this thing happened. And I spiraled for a couple of days. Then all of a sudden, and I was still supposed to help out with this thing, but then all of a sudden I said, I don't care. I'm done. I quit everything. I was like, I just don't care, because I realized that I did care too much. I realized that I wanted to have this image of being, involved and a helper and being in this organization and yada yada. And while I enjoyed it, I just realized I don't need that. So that was one of my big I don't care things. Then that's also when I started this past season of Madge Unmuted, where I just started. Well, I tried to do certain things, tried wearing fun outfits, saying things. The very first episode of this season was no more fucks to give. That was me trying not to give any more fucks, but like things, some being down here, it throws a big wrench in the works, because coordinating studio time, it's a little harder to do it because I have to do everything all myself here, and hope that Fitz is available at the time. I hope that Chris is available. Hope that guests are available. It's been very hard this year. So I was told, just start doing some, when you can't get everybody together, just do some solo episodes. So that's what I'm doing. I started going to New York more often because that's where I feel alive. My kids are over there. I was very concerned about how they felt about me wanting to move over there. And I was really bummed in the beginning because they were kind of like, yeah, you want to come near us? Which any kid in their late 20s, early 30s, yeah, well, mom, come live with us, move it. Didn't want to live with them, but you know what I mean. But after a while, I was like, it's my life. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I want to be here, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's where I am right now. I'm still in the I don't care. I had a big thing happen this weekend. I was at a I went to see a group called Fishbone, and loved them, loved them since I was in college. So like 85, end of sophomore, beginning of junior year. And I was working at the college radio station, so I was always got in on the new music. So I hear Fishbone, loved them. They're like this mix of ska, funk, soul, rock, whatever. I've loved them for years. I find out when I had to go to New York to go to this gala that my son is on the board of, this foundation and the gala, and so we always go every year. I find out Fishbone is playing, and we were in Brooklyn. We're staying in Brooklyn. I find out Fishbone is playing in Brooklyn when I was there. I went out of my mind, and I'm like, I'm getting tickets. And I was going to ask John, you know, do you want to go? But I was like, oh, fuck it, I don't care. This is a lifelong dream. I'm buying these. So I got by them, and I find myself. This is where I say, I don't think any one person ever stops 100% not caring, unless you're a sociopath. Let me say, there's a good caring and a bad caring. There's caring about, yes, when you're involved with another person or involved with a family, whatever, you always want to take into consideration other people's feelings. Correct? Correct. When you're at work, you're a social psych, you never want to hurt anybody's feelings unless you're a dick, which I know a lot of those. I do know people that just really don't give a shit. I still care. Oops, didn't use that. I still care. I'm inherently a very caring, very loving person. I care what people think. However, I don't want it to stop me living my dreams and what I truly care about. So we go to Fishbone. They're a little crazy. They're a little radical, and they're all black. So some of the parts that they're during their performance, one of their songs is racist piece of shit. You're just a racist piece of shit. Okay. Which I'm like, yeah, fuck racist. And sometimes and up until recently, I would have thought, what would people care if I said fuck racist, but now I don't, because I was always trying to keep everybody. Oh, I don't want anybody not to like me, so I'm not going to say what I think. But why the fuck would you not condemn a racist anyway? I mean, they're punk inherently. So anybody who knows what that punk attitude is like, fuck the man, fuck racist, fuck your bullshit, fuck Ronald Reagan. That's how we were back in the day. And so they're kind of spurious. And so they go on this tirade about, you know, the orange piece of shit in the White House, da, 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 and John is a little to the right. And so I'm kind of like cringing, like, ooh, I hope he doesn't get mad. But I immediately went to, that's his problem. And sorry, John, I know you're listening, watching, but it also it's his problem. I don't, you know, would I do that? No. Does that help us get along? No. But at the same time, somebody has to say it. Yes. I mean, but all in all, it's not me. I didn't say it. We're watching this. So anyway, then in the middle of the song, they start doing this call and response to the crowd, and they're saying "fuck ICE." They're yelling that, and the crowd's yelling it back. I wanted to do that because the tactics they look, you know, there's people. There are people in this, some people in this country, very few that shouldn't be, and maybe they're violent, whatever. You didn't follow the process. You are here on expired visa, whatever. But don't fucking tackle them on the street and shoot at them. Just don't shoot at protesters. Don't tackle protesters because they hurt your little feelings. Anyway, I digress. It's just, it's way out of control. What I want to follow the due process. So they're saying this, and I'm kind of like, yeah, this is really fucking cool to see this. And it was cool to me in a space with people that think like I do, because I'm not often in that, especially here. Not often in that. I glanced over at him. He gives me a very, he didn't give me, but his face was very angry. And then I was just like, you can't, don't go there. Because I spent a lot of time in my life going there, like worrying about, oh, don't get mad, or don't, I hope he doesn't get mad. I hope he's not mad at me. And I just kept, and all of a sudden he was like, I don't remember if he said, I got to go to the bathroom or I got to step out or something, but it was very obvious. He gave me the face. He was making a statement. I don't want to listen to this. Okay, it's a free country. You can do that. And that's what you should do. If you don't like something, just step away. And if you really don't like something, you know, vote it out, or, which I'm trying to do, but it's also, it's fucking music. How long has music been protest and opposition, and from the dawn of music? So he leaves, and it was getting near the end, and I was looking for him, and I was starting to get that nervous, like, but then I kept it kicking into, I don't care. I know you care, but you shouldn't care. There's nothing you can do about it. You didn't say it. I tried to ignore it afterwards, but we were waiting in the rain for an Uber, under an awning, and I don't remember, it came up, and I said, look, it's punk music. What do you expect? You did the right thing. You walked out. Good. That's what you do. And anyway, I had the time of my life. In short, the answer to the question, when did I stop caring? I haven't completely stopped caring yet. I mostly don't care. I've stopped caring about acting how other people want me to act, to a degree. Yeah, I don't want to be a mean or dick or whatever, but when I want to be interested in the shit I want to be interested, have the beliefs that I want to have, I don't care anymore. When I want to wear the clothes that I want to wear, I don't care anymore. And somebody said to me the other day, oh, well, you do care. You care because you want attention. You just want people to, give you attention. No, I don't. You don't know a fucking thing about me. Sorry, I've said fuck a lot this episode, because I don't care. This is me not caring. No, I dressing is an art form to me. One of the things that really gets my juices flowing, gets me jazzed, is putting art together. And to me, clothing is a form of art. Look at all the this is a very small part of my purse collection. What is it? It's all creative works of art, mostly Betsy Johnson. You know, we got pizza box, iron, refrigerator, stove, caviar container. I love putting together different colors, textures, styles, putting together an outfit. I love, and then I feel on. In the past, I've gotten some attention that was not favorable. Like if I had too much cleavage or too short of a skirt or whatever, I'd get the. But now people, are mostly. I was like, oh, I just love seeing your outfits, and you know what? That makes me happy. Because also people will always say, I could never pull that off. I could never wear that. And it's like, yes, you could. And that also makes me happy that I can inspire somebody, not taking myself too seriously that I inspire people, but I can inspire people. If I can wear it, you can wear it. Wear what you want. Don't care. I know that's not easy for everybody, but I like having these fun outfits, and I like seeing a smile on somebody else's face that all of a sudden they break out and they like, I love that. I love it when somebody gives me a compliment because I'm like, thank you. I think my ideas are good, and it makes it just those are just the little things that make life happy. I like that shit more than somebody going on Facebook and saying, fuck you liberals, or people that go on and on about Trump all the time, fuck Trump, whatever. I hate that shit all day. It sucks the life out of me. I'd rather go out in a fun outfit that I love and make somebody smile, and they make me smile in return, and just say, isn't this fun? It's fun. It just makes you feel more fun. It makes me feel more fun, and we all need a little more fun. And that's when I stop caring. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Madge Unmuted, everybody. While you're here, subscribe, please, and thank you. And I hope that you will join me next week on the next episode of Madge Unmuted. Bye.